And we should be now live on YouTube as well. Say hello to the YouTube guys. Music LB is the salam, sir. Hello, hello, salam. We got David here on the chat as well. Nice, nice, Maria. Yeah, we're probably gonna be starting live streams a little bit sooner, and hopefully going a little bit longer as well. Seba, ¿qué onda, Seba? Solid Mango, hello, my friend. I'm doing great. Music says, big fan, can you give me an advice to make animal fuzz? We're actually going to be talking a little bit about that today, Music Beast, which is hair for games and for CG in general. And there's a couple of ways to do fur for characters. If you're gonna do realistic fur, then you're gonna need to use something called a hair system. It can be XGen, it can be Ornatrix, it can be Yeti. There's a bunch of them out there. So yeah, it depends for what you want it. Do you think haircuts are going to be replaced in the near future with grooms? No, and the reason is, even though we are gonna have better and better systems for like games, like newer Xboxes, newer PlayStations, stronger PCs, you're always gonna have phones, right? So unless phones get to the level of like a PS5 right now, I don't think you're gonna be able to just like ignore the performance that you're gonna need for haircuts. So and not all games are gonna use this sort of like realistic approach to hair, so it's important to keep that in mind as well. Like if you're doing, I'm going to show you some examples as soon as we start, but there are games where you cannot use realistic hair because it just looks out of place. It's gonna be a I'll show you what it's gonna be. It's gonna be interesting because of course we only have a couple of hours, and the process is quite lengthy. Saigo 3D, welcome, man. Today we're gonna be using Maya, we're gonna be using Marmoset, maybe a little bit of Photoshop. That's pretty much it. Yeah, I'll talk to you after the stream, Solid Mango, so we can go over that.
Men writing songs to me, and then I go home and I listen to them alone. What is it with you rock and rollers? You can perform for 1,000 people.
Ucharan, it's not always necessary, but it really helps to sell your character a little bit better. You can do a very quick rig, like you don't need to do the full control rig. Just add a couple of bones and move the arms down, for instance, twist the head to a little bit to the side, and that's pretty much it. Andre, all good, man. All good. Tobias Reaper, thanks for the follow, man. We're gonna talk about that in just a second. Eat my laser. There's a bunch of things that we need to cover. So this is gonna be an interesting class. Eat my laser, thanks for the follow. Hello everyone and welcome to today's live stream. My name is Leal, you know that. And today we're gonna have fun because we are gonna be doing haircards. And haircards has been one of the most requested topics on the YouTube channel. Like I think at least like 2 or 3 times per week we get someone on the comments of the videos asking us to asking us to do some haircards tutorials. Now the thing about haircards is that they are time consuming, and someone was just saying something like that. Painting skin weights is super time consuming, and everything in 3D is very time consuming. Like we need to spend a lot of time making sure things look as nice as possible for our projects. So yeah, today we're going to be going over the full process. I want to talk a little bit about the theory behind them, like why we use them, where we use them, stuff like that. And then we're going to do a process for this one. Now, the thing we're going to be doing is this right here. I found this very cool like creature character. I'm not sure if this is actually a goblin, more like a gnome or something, but I really like this sort of like messy, like interesting hair that he has right here, and we're going to try to get as close as possible. Again, this is something that you don't normally do in like a couple of hours, but well, let's see where we get. And my main goal with this session is to show you guys the process, which I normally divide into 3 steps, okay? But first, before we go there, let's say hi to everyone. We got Twitch right here, we got YouTube as well, and I'm gonna be reading the questions, so make sure to post your questions here on the channels if you have anything throughout the process, and hopefully later on, or if you want to try to follow along at the same time, you can replicate this and do your own stuff. So let's see. My friend and I decided to make a chess game. He will draw a sketch and I will make a 3D model. Then we will print it down on the 3D printer, but we don't want to make a standard chess game, but a stylized chess game. But we don't have any ideas. Can you suggest something about it? Look for inspiration, Morka. Like, look for what type of games or what type of, like, movies, film series you like as in stylization, and try and see if there's any concept artists out there that wants to collaborate as well. And I know right now it's just you and your friend, but if you get a third person that's going to be doing, or if he will be drawing the sketches, make sure he gets some nice inspiration so that it's easier for you to model. What's up, Roma Song? And have I ever tried Fiverr Shop? We're going to talk about that in just a second. So okay, let's go. Boom, over here. So here in 3D, or like yeah, like there are 3 ways. I normally categorize hair into 3 ways whenever you want to do hair for games or for film or for animation or for whatever it is. The first one is a sculpted hair. Okay, this is probably the easiest one. Probably everyone has done this, especially if you've used ZBrush before. If you haven't, you can check out, of course. And this one right here is really good. It's very optimized because it's just polygons, so you can do retopology around the hair and you're gonna get a good result. You can capture a lot of detail with this, so if you spend enough time like sculpting all of the details of your hair, you can get some really nice results. And in specific or in certain types of elements, it doesn't look bad. So for instance, this is what we're going to be doing for our like the anatomy course. We're going to be doing hair, and it's going to be sculpted hair because we're going to 3D print it. So sculpted hair is really good, again, because it's relatively easy to do and it gives you a good result. Examples of games where this happens is, for instance, Fortnite. So in Fortnite and this sort of like stylized games, you're gonna see that most of the time the hair is polygons. The hair is a mesh. It's a blob of polygons that generates all of these things right here. So that's what we're looking for, okay? That's the sort of like sculpted. In this case, of course, this is quite stylized, but it's very, very common to see this in games like this, where you want to have some nice, clean hair. Now, the cool thing about mesh hair like this is that you can actually rig it as well. So if you add control rigs and you add bones to the whole thing, you're going to be able to move it as well and generate a nice animation like presentation, right? So yeah, this one's a nice first option for hairs. If you want to do a game, if you want to do a product, sculpted hair is definitely one of the ways to go. The second one is actual hair systems, and XGen is probably the one that everyone knows about or at least has heard about. So XGen is an instance-based approach to generating not only hair but a lot of other different things. However, it has been used quite often with XGen. You can also rig it, although the rigging is not exactly the same as with traditional polygonal rigging, because you're not creating skin clusters. I believe you can create a relationship between the hair strands and bones as well, so that you can move it around. But usually, if you're going to be doing this type of hair, it's because you're going to let physics, right, like wind and movement, the movement of your character rig, do the whole thing, right? So it's way more expensive. It requires a little bit more time to get it right. There's a bunch of courses out there on how to do this as well. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do one because I'm not really a groomer myself, so I don't do a lot of grooming like for this kind of stuff, and therefore it's a little bit complicated. But it's not. It's more technical than complicated, I would say. It gives you really good results. We've done them before. We have some videos there on the YouTube channel, the mustache and the little beard that we did for the vampire. So it can be, it's relatively straightforward, but there's a lot of steps that you need to make sure that you're fulfilling properly to get a good rig here for your hair. And finally, the last one that we normally see in games is Haircards. So Haircards are like the best of both worlds, because they are polygonals, okay? They're polygons, therefore you can rig them, therefore you can optimize them, therefore you can modify them with the traditional tools that we normally use. And when using the technique that I'm going to show you throughout this live stream, you can bake and generate a very cool looking, very realistic looking effect. So for instance, this one right here, it might look like it's made out of XGen, but it's actually Haircards. All of these Haircards right here. What is the downside, or one of the downsides of this one? Again, it requires a little bit of technical knowledge in the preparation of the maps, and it requires a lot of time, which is where we're going to be spending most of our time today, probably, on the placement of the cards, okay? So where you place the cards is going to play a very important role in how your hair looks at the end of the whole thing. Let's see, Haircards, leaves, and wings. Does creating this follow the same workflow? Yes, pretty much. Not exactly the same, because leaves, for instance, they don't have as much transparency. It's more like a cutout. But yeah, they do follow a similar process. So yeah, this is it, guys. So this is, again, the three main ways in which you can create hair for your characters inside of games and inside of productions. Now, someone was asking about Fibershop. And this is one of those things that happens all the time in the 3D world, which is there's always going to be a specialized tool that's going to do exactly what you're trying to do, but it's probably going to cost you a little bit more, right? So Fibershop is exactly that. Fibershop is a hair card generator software. And the way it works, as you can see right here, is it will generate the flat hairs, the flat elements that you can use to then map out your cards and project them on top of your character. And it will project, as you can see, all of these passes: the specular, the albedo, the ambient, the directional, the translucency, the root, the tip, the alpha opacity, the ID, the normal, the height. All of these elements right here can be exported out from Fibershop. Now, I don't even know how much this costs. Let's check real quick. I think you can download for free, but then you need to pay, and I don't even know how much it costs. Well, it must be somewhere in there. So it's probably, I think it was like $150 or something like that. So if you're going to be doing a lot of hairs, if you want to specialize on hairs, then fine. Like maybe buying one of this to make your process a little bit faster is better. But in this case, or in today's stream, I'm going to show you how to do all of these passes that you see right here. Well, not all of them, but most of the passes that we need to generate those elements. There you go. Here's the pricing. So yeah, $159 like a lifetime. It's fine. I think it's okay. It's fair. But again, I do feel like it's a little bit It's a little bit on the expensive side, especially if you can do something very, very similar here inside of Maya. Let's see, Haircards has too much dithering in current BD games. It depends on the engine, Michelle. So, depending on the engine, you can up the sample so that you don't have that much dithering and use like better textures as well to improve that sort of thing. Okay, so any questions so far, my friends, about like the quick explanation about Haircards? Frijolito Artístico is asking, if I have a character for a client but only for stills, it's kind of like a Dr. Simi type of character. If it's only for renders, I would do it with action. It just looks better. Could you explain a little bit about the maps? Yes, we're gonna go through them, my friend. We're gonna go through them. Blender hair tools I have used. Huge Time Saver has fiber shop passes built in also. Blender hair tools. I have not seen those, but if they do the exact same thing that we're gonna do, those are perfectly fine as well. I guess as I just spent a week placing haircuts. Yep, that's usually how it goes. Between haircuts and action, what is your preferred? It's two different methods, Lord Tellum. So I like both. They're both time consuming in their own ways. So in action, you spend a lot of time making sure that the placement of the guides and everything is clean. And in haircuts, it's more about the what's the word? The placement of the haircuts themselves. So I'm gonna open a new scene right here. This is the goblin that we're gonna be using. I showed it yesterday on the Instagram. It's just a quick sculpt that I did. It's not even optimized. This is just like the decimated mesh. There's no retopology yet. But even then, we can already start working with this thing right here. So I'm gonna say File, and I'm gonna create a new scene. Save that real quick. We're gonna go here to the front view. Now, this is gonna be kind of like the cooking shows where I'm gonna show you the process, but I already have the maps prepared from an exercise that I did a long time ago. So we're going to be reusing those that I did a long time ago for all of the elements because it has multiple different variations on the hair. But I am going to show you the process right now, okay? So again, it's kind of like this cooking show where they mix all of the ingredients and they just bloop, get the turkey out of the oven and it's ready. So let's see. No, don't worry, Diffambam. I'm going to show you how to do that. So here's how it works. First, we need to create the hair cards. And as we saw right here with Fiber Shop, what we need to create is this right here. We need to create fibers, geometrical fibers or curves or whatever it is that you can use to get information from and bake into a flat image, because we're going to be using that flat image and that transparency to get the exact same effect. So what we need to do, or what we're going to be using here, is actually action. We are going to be using action. I'm going to create a plane. I'm going to rotate the plane down, and I'm going to keep it roughly at 45 degrees, something like that. So when we see it from the front view, it looks a little bit like this. I'm going to push this guy up. I don't need the grid right now. And this is going to be it. Okay? Now, very important. I'm going to create a new camera. Okay? Camera, panels, look through selected. And I'm going to change the focal length to a really flat focal length, like 900. Well, actually, no. Let's keep it simple. I was gonna do that, but it's ridiculous. So let's just use the front view. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select the front view camera, and over here on the texture things, I am going to set this to a square texture. So let's say 2K square. Whenever you have this here inside of Maya and you want to see more of the element, you can go to the camera itself. In this case, it's the front camera, and there's an option here on the display options. It's called the overscan. If you increase this a little bit, 1.5. In this case, we're gonna need a 2 probably. There you go. You're gonna kind of like make this screen smaller so that you can see more of the element. So this one's going to be right here. And very important, since we're going to be using the front camera, I'm going to grab all of the elements from the front camera and I'm just going to lock select it. That way I cannot move the camera, okay? Well, I should not be able to move the camera there. I'm not sure why it let me rotate. Oh, it's letting me zoom. That's really weird. Okay, I'm not going to zoom. I'm just going to leave it like this, and I'm not going to zoom. So let's right click and lock selected. One thing we can do here is I can say panels and then tear off copy. This is going to give me a copy of the front view right here. You can have like a small window over on this side. And that way I can work on the perspective, and we're going to have the front view. Well, let's place it right here so that you guys can see. Let's see. Can you export hair made from action to other softwares like Blender? Yes, if you export them as Alembic files. So when you go up here to effects and then cache, you can export an Alembic cache. Which is the same thing that you do for Unreal. Like if you're gonna export action to Unreal, you use Alembic. So everything's good, man. I want to ask you, will you render it in Unreal Engine 5? Because for haircuts, we need to make different materials in Unreal Engine 5. Yeah, no, we're gonna be doing this in Marmoset, my friend, just to keep it simple. I'm gonna be using just the basic materials. But yeah, as 100 Evil Eye is saying right there, once you start getting like down into the rabbit hole of what's the word? down into the rabbit hole of the hair cards, you can make things look very, very, very intense if you start using more like complex materials, more layers, mask, roots, and tips. Like there's a bunch of things that you can do, which is what you usually do with what's the word? With freaking with metahumans. Metahumans have like a very advanced hair shader system. So no, we're not gonna be rendering on Unreal Engine 5 today because I don't think we're gonna have time for that. Now, here's another one. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 or 2, whatever. Let's go 3. This is what I was mentioning, because someone was asking, like, do you think there's going to be a point where every single game will be using, traditional hair instead of hair cards? And the answer is, I don't think so, because for games like this, right? Like, all of these are hair cards. They're just painted hair cards. So as you can see, they actually... I think it's a mix between painting and shaders. But as you can see, these are pretty much cards all over the place that gives this very nice anime-ish look. So there will always be certain styles of games that will not necessarily... use traditional fibers and like realistic hair. And that's why, like, knowing how to do hair cards is important, because you can... pivot and do a little bit of that. So I'm gonna go here to poly modeling. We're gonna center pivot, delete history, all that stuff, and this one we're gonna call hair. Wait, we got 2 planes. We're gonna call this hair plane underscore geo. This is just to keep things organized. And what we're gonna do here is we're gonna go to Xgen and we're gonna create a new Xgen system. We're gonna create a new description. This is gonna be called Haircards. Hair cards. I like to call this desk. So the description, and the collection is gonna be called hair card collection. There you go. Gorehound, everything's good, man. All good over here. Does Blender have something similar to Xgen? Yes, it does, Eduardo. It has actually 2 options. You can use particles to create hair, which has been the old school way, and there's a new system that's a little bit more similar to Xgen. However, at least when I tried it, this was like 6 months ago, I think, it was still like in not early access, but it was missing some features. Hopefully, or maybe now with 4.1, there's been some improvements over there. What did you just Control Shift C to make a new camera from your view? Yeah, we can do that as well, but I want to make sure that the camera Solid Mango is perfectly orthographic, so there's no perspective going on. So over here, we're going to use splines, we're going to use randomly across the surface, and we're going to be using placing and shaping guides. There we go. So over here, now we are inside of the Xgen environment, and we need to start adding guides so that we can create our hair. So I'm going to grab this little thing right here, add remote guides, and you need to have at least 3 guides, okay? So if you add at least 3 guides and you click on this little button right here, we're going to start getting a preview of how those elements are going to look. So that's our hair. Those are our fibers. That's what we want to be creating for the hair that we're going to be using. And now we can go to just move tool, and this little yellow elements, we can hide this. We can modify this element by using this control points, which the control points are pretty much like curvatures or like curves, so like CV points. I can use soft selection as well here, for instance, to really drag this down. And I'm using this guy to kind of like measure where I want my hair to be. I'm gonna give it a little bit of curvature right here, something like this. Now, if I check my hair, you're gonna see that we're gonna have longer strands right here and shorter strands over here, because the guides over on this side are not as big. Let's grab and change that as well. So over here, let's go down. As you can see, I'm playing a little bit with the depth as well, so not all of the hair is gonna be on the same depth. That's gonna give my hair a more interesting approach. And this is something that back in the day, I'm talking before all of the systems existed, you would paint these strands in Photoshop. You would use Photoshop or things like that to paint the strands and generate something interesting for your character. Unfortunately, that gave you very flat looking hairs, and the maps that we're going to be baking will give us more depth and more shadows that are going to make the hair look a lot nicer. Since we're talking about Blender, how do we export Blender particle systems to Maya? I don't think you can as easily. Again, usually when you're working with a software, any software, the tools that are within that software are meant to work for that software. So if you want to transfer those to another element, you need to either bake them down into a format that can be exported to other softwares, or find a way to get like a plugin or something that makes them compatible. Because usually it doesn't work. That's why if you have a Maya rig and you try to open it inside of Blender, it's not going to work, because the parent constraints and all of the connections between the bones and the controllers do not work. The bones and the skin will work because that information is stored on the vertex, but the information between the curves and like the modifiers and any like blend shapes and things like that, those don't work. Now, once you have curves right here, if you want to add more, right, to give it a little bit more control, the next points you add will interpolate between the ones that you already have. So my advice here, and again, this is just to save a little bit of time, is always try to start with few guide points and then you start adding more, because if you start with a lot of them, you're gonna have to move a lot of points. And here, as you can see, since I already have some of them, it's a little bit easier to just add a couple more, and this will already have a little bit more variation like between them, because they're interpolating between all of the different points. And that's it. This is pretty much what we're doing right here. If we press preview, this is what we're gonna get, and we get our hair like ready to start working with this. Himanshu Maurilla says, tell me something about animation. Well, ask me something about animation, man. Like, what, just a random fact? Do you know what was the first full live action, well, not live action, full animation feature film? Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was the first sort of like full-length animation. Can you make a breakdown video on how to start using alphas in ZBrush for creatures? Should I apply surface noise as a base before using any imported alpha, or should I start with a new imported alpha? I would normally get, in ZBrush, I always work from the bigger shapes to the smaller shapes. So if I have a big alpha for like a scale or like a spike or something, I'll draw that one first, and then on top of that, I'll add the noise. That's usually how I work. Okay. Now, let's turn this off for a second, and one of the first things that we need to do is we need to start like modifying where these things are going to be, because right now, as you can see, we got like this strands pretty much all over the hair card, and I don't want that. So we're going to use a mask. And to do that, I'm going to assign a new material to this guy. It's going to be very important. This is a very common mistake. It needs to be a Lambert material, okay? So I'm just going to assign a basic Lambert material to that one. And if we go back to the action system, here where it says mask, I'm going to click this little arrow and I'm going to create a map. By default, I want this map to be black, and I'm going to call this mask hair card A. I'm going to hit create. Nothing's going to happen, but now I can actually paint over here where I want the hair to be. So I'm going to set this color to white, and I'm going to make the radius a little bit bigger, and I want the hair to be only on the center of the card, like that. And once I like that, I hit save. And by doing that, as you can see, we're constraining the fibers to only that element or that part right there. That's very, very important, because it's going to leave this area as empty, and that's the part that's going to allow us to do the blend of the whole thing, okay? So, can I watch this stream later? Because I'm on office now, I can follow all of it. Yes, of course, my friend. The stream is going to be available tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Mexico time here on YouTube as well. And I believe it remains on the on Twitch as a rerun as well. Okay, so now that we have this, we got the element like constrained to a little area. We need to add some variation to this thing, and the easiest way I can show you how to do this is by thinking about hair extensions. Okay, so if you take a look at a hair extension, which is what people used to like have the appearance of longer hair, when you buy the extensions, you're gonna see that they look like quite nice real hair, and a real hair has a little bit of a taper. As you go from the top of the hair, or from the root of the hair, all the way down to the bottom of the hair becomes thinner, and it becomes thinner because the tips are exposed to the environment, so they bounce and they touch other surfaces, right? Your pillow, if you're leaning on a chair or something, if you're wearing a cap, and those are the parts that get damaged or reduced, if you wish, by friction the most. So we need to do that, and there's a couple of ways to do that. We can use this width ramp right here, which I really like using. So I'm gonna push the width root in so that we get a very thin effect, and I'm gonna create this sort of like teardrop shape, and as we go towards the tip, we're gonna get this sort of like taper down there. And when we update this, you can see now that we got a way smaller tip right there for our hairs, which again is looking quite nice. To all of this, guys, remember, we're going to be using or doing this guy right here, something similar to this guy right here. So as you can see, it's quite messy hair, right? Let's see. What's the difference between painting graffiti with stencils and painting with normal alpha in Substance Painter? I'm not sure I understand the question. I'm not sure, man. I'm going to have to check that one out because I'm not sure. Can we render fiber mesh from ZBrush in Marmoset? No, you can't. What you can do is you can export the fiber mesh to other softwares. I've seen people do it for Blender and for Maya, and then inside of those softwares, you convert those fiber meshes into curves, and then you use those curves to generate another thing. Is Cascadier gonna replace animation in Blender or Maya? Also, it's free for now. No, again, guys, it's very difficult for a tool to just like be like, I'm gonna replace everything and no one's gonna be using anymore. I know that Cascadier is this AI animation software, and it's really good. Like, I'm not gonna lie. There's another one that I've used with my iPad that's called Move AI. That's also really good. But most of these things right here, they're just kind of like how to say this? They're tools at the end of the day, right? So if you can use this tool and you can get something that looks good, fine. But if you then need to tweak things and you cannot like make this tool work for you, that's why you still need to know about traditional animation, because all of these things that you're seeing right here, these are things that already exist in like top production pipelines, and this is not something new. The thing that's new is that it's now available to the masses, right? Everyone can use them now. But again, it's not the tool that makes you an animator. It's a lot of other things that you really need to learn about to really like get the most out of the tool. Okay, so this is again the sort of like taper effect that we're doing right here. We can also use this taper right here to make things a little bit thinner. I don't want to make it super thin, because then it becomes, as someone mentioned here, it becomes a little bit difficult for the transparency to read. I'm definitely going to increase the density. I think a density of 10 for this particular one is going to look fine. And I'm thinking about the thickness or the width right here. 0.1 is usually the default for, again, like human hair. We can make it a little bit thicker right here, just 0.16 maybe. There we go. So that's it. Now we got a little bit of variation here with the hair, right? Like we got a clump of hair, kind of like an extension, and it's just looking like interesting. You should make more live streams and make a complete game character with haircuts if possible. Shaquille, we do live streams every single Friday, man. Where have you been? We've been doing live streams for the past year, like one, sometimes two a week, but most of the times one. So yeah, we're doing that, man. And as for complete game characters, I don't have a complete course yet. That one's gonna come on later this year, but I do have full courses that you can check on the site as well, where we make the full character, just not the full pipeline. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to add some modifiers to make this thing look a little bit nicer before we start getting into the bakes, okay? Because right now this is just like a, if we try to render this, it's just gonna render like a complete intense effect. So I'm gonna go to modifiers. I'm gonna add a new modifier, and the first one that I want to add is a cut modifier. The cut modifier will randomly cut the hairs at different like intervals, as you can see, from 0 to 0.2. So I'm gonna make this quite aggressive to like a 5. And as you can see, if I do that, now we're gonna get some really long cuts in some of the elements. There we go. So there's gonna be some short hairs and some longer hairs. And maybe a 5 is like a little bit too small even. So I'm gonna try like a 10. So between 0 and 10, we're gonna get hairs that are being cut. And this is going to give me a very nice sort of like messy look here on the tip of the hairs. Now I'm going to add another modifier. This is going to be a noise modifier, very common as well. Hit OK. And the noise modifier, as I start increasing the frequency, for instance, if I set a frequency of 10 and a magnitude of 5, you can see how the hair starts getting a little bit messier. This ramp right here is how it affects the root and the tip. So right now, as you can see, there's more noise on the root or on the tip and less noise on the root. I'm going to push that up so we get a little bit more noise on the root as well. And maybe let's go... I'm going to really messy hair, so I'm going to make this... There we go. Let's make this really intense. Perfect. That's a lot better. As you can see, that we get a very like nice messy hair. I still think, or now I quite think that it's a little bit too dense. So I'm going to go back to the density. I'm going to bring the density down to 5. And that should give me a little bit less density for the whole thing. And I might also bring the width just a little bit lower. Solid Mango says, how about you make a course for games? Like first you create a character, then retopo, then texture, then how to render on Unreal. I've mentioned it before. Fox, what's here? What's up, my friend? I mentioned it before, Solid Mango, and the problem with those type of courses is that it needs to be a long course. It's gonna be like 40 hours, 50 hours of course. And I know there's a lot of people that will buy those courses, but there's also a huge, like even bigger number of people that will not even bother because they see 50 hours of course and they don't want to do the work, right? So it makes it a little bit difficult. It could be that option, yeah, like volume 1, 2, and 3. But that also feels a little bit like DLC, and I'm not sure how people are gonna feel about it. So we're gonna play around. Like our next course, the anatomy course, which is a full pipeline for 3D printing. We do sculpting, posing, keying, 3D printing, cleaning, everything. That one's gonna be a little bit longer. So it's gonna be like I'm guessing like maybe 30 hours or something like that. So we're gonna test the waters out with that one as well. Hey, thanks, man. Thank you, my friend. Yeah, Eds Fox right here on YouTube. He is the responsible for the Thyros concept and for Zarya and for the Mechanical Lion. He's been my good concept artist friend who has been collaborating with me for the past couple of years. So amazing to have him here, of course. Can we pre-order that anatomy course? I do have the option, I think, in Thinkific to activate that, but I've never done it. We'll see. I'm still working on it, but it's gonna be coming out soon. So okay, try enable auto updating view. Yeah, we can do. I don't like to do. It's supposed to be updated automatically, but sometimes it just like it's buggy. Now, very important, save. You need to save. So this one's gonna be Haircards. So otherwise, certain things are not gonna work. So Haircards are saved. Now on the modifiers, one more modifier that's very, very important is clumping. Clumping is one of those things that hair does naturally due to the oils that it has, and it tends to bring some of the fibers together. So I'm gonna add a new modifier here, and it's gonna be a clump modifier. But the clump modifier is a little bit tricky because it needs a couple of setups for it to work. Actually, when I bring this clumping modifier, you can see that there's an error right here that says, hey, we do not have the guides. So I need to go over here, and I'm gonna say setup maps, and I am gonna use this one, generate. So that generates the clumpings that we're gonna have. I think that's a little bit too much. Let's do like a 0.2. So that we get less clumping and therefore like more precise elements. And when we have that, we just hit save, and that's it. So again, if we push this up on the clumping side of things, you're gonna see how the hairs are trying to go closer to the different elements of our object. Okay, so they're gonna try to clump together more. Especially if I set this to like 10. Well, no, that 10 is maybe too much. They're gonna try to go towards one of the points right there. There we go. There we go. That's what we want. A little bit of clumping right there. And that's gonna give me this sort of like, again, like a hair extension effect where we have what we want. Now, one thing that you might see here is that the hairs look a little bit like pixelated, right? Like the strand is not as smooth. You can change that by going here to the strand options, to the primitive options. And there's an option right here on the modifier CV count. We can increase this to 10. This is also going to increase the noise because we now have more noise. So we need to go here to the noise and decrease the noise. Let's go like a 10 and like a 5. Right? But you're going to see a smoother hair as well. Maybe like a 10, 20. There we go. So we're going to get this sort of like crazy looking hair right here. Now we still got a couple of little elements right there that look a little bit too angular, but I think it fits with the main character that we have. Nat Tuesday, what's up, man? Yeah, don't worry, Shaquille. I currently work as creative director of a small indie studio called Hyperlab. I'm a partner of that studio, and we are located here in the city of Saltillo in Mexico, and we do VR experiences. That's our main focus. I also teach at universities, and of course I have this brand where I share all of these things about the 3D world. Don't you already have game ready character courses when you were in Nextwood? Yes, I do, Gorehound, but unfortunately I do not get any revenue from the Nextwood courses anymore, so I need to do my own now. How is the industry scene for character artists? I mean, the scene right now, it's quite intense. I've mentioned this before, we're going through a crisis. Every like entertainment thing, like commercials, movies, video games, so you gotta be patient. My best advice for anyone who's graduating right now, you gotta be patient, okay? Have you ever tried grooming using Houdini? No, I've never used Houdini. And yes, Final Fantasy, Michelle. Final Fantasy does make one of the best hairs. I agree. Okay, so this is what we have. Now we need to start getting the actual sort of like information for our hair. We need to get the all of the different maps. This I would say is it was fine. It took us like 40 minutes, so not that bad. So this is, I would say, the first part that you need to do to create a hair. Create one XGen description, one XGen like groom right here that's gonna serve as the base for your hair. Now, you are going to be doing a lot of this, and I'm going to show you once we finish with this. You're going to be doing a lot of this. You're going to be doing one for mustache, one for beard, one for very thick beard, one for semi-thick beard, one for loosely beard. So at the end of the whole process, similar to what we saw right here, you're going to have a map like this, okay? Flyaways, breakup, base layers, breakups, flyaways, breakups. So it's a lot of different variations, okay, on similar things for your hair, because we're going to be using all of these textures to generate the final groom. If you just have one, like this one right here, and it's the only one you use, it's going to look very, very bad, okay? Well, Solid Mango, that's a conversation for another time. But as I've mentioned before, there's no bad blood between us. So let the past be the past, and let's just focus on the future. Yeah, I have the courses, man, Shaquille. I do have courses on my site. David is gonna link the site in just a second in case you want to check them out. And I have full characters on there as well. It's just different softwares that I'm explaining. But yeah, I'll definitely, I think we definitely need to, what's the word? Think about that, right, Sarn? Like maybe do a full pipeline for a character. But we're gonna have to have like a votation there or a poll because, actually, let's do a poll. Let's do a poll, Sarn. Can we do a poll? I'm gonna do it on YouTube. And if you can do it there on Twitch, that would be great. Let's do a poll. And the question is, what do you prefer for a full character pipeline course? And the options are one, let's say 50-hour course, or like 3 15-hour courses. Right, because one course could be like the high poly, and then another course could be like low poly and UVs, and that last one could be like textures or something like that. So let us know. What do you prefer? 1 50-hour course, or like a very long course that of course is going to be a little bit more expensive, right, because it's 50 hours, or 3 short courses where you cover like each part of the pipeline. Why do you enable anti-aliasing? Yeah, we can enable it. There we go. I mean, it's not going to be much of a difference now that we're streaming. No. It would be, yeah, exactly. The cost of the one course would be the same as the total. So, for instance, if the 50-hour course is valued at let's say $100, then the split courses would be, or let's say $90. The split courses would be $30 each. So yeah, it would be the same cost. It would just be split into sections. Okay. So what we need to do now, again, as I mentioned, is we need to generate a bake right here. And we need to generate several maps. Let me... Actually, give me 1 second, guys. Topology is an essential... One second. So I'm going to open Notepad, and then sometimes I have important information there. There you go. There we go. Yeah, both, guys, both, because it's that's important for us. It's good information for us. Okay, so the maps that we're gonna need for our hair to look as nice as possible. Oh, and yeah, by the way, thanks Corn Race for the sub, man. There we go. So we're gonna need an albedo map, which is the same thing or similar to a color map. Okay, we're gonna need an alpha map, which is gonna cut out the hair of the element. We're going to need something called a direction map, which is good for a nice glossy like reflection of our hair. I'm going to explain how this works. We're going to need an ambient occlusion map. And thinking about if we need one more. Sometimes you get like a metallic one or like a roughness one. That one can be done in Photoshop very, very easily. But the most important ones, I would say, are this 4 right here. An albedo map, an alpha map, a direction map, and an ambient occlusion map. These 4 maps are going to be the secret to generating a good hair. Yeah, of course. Sorry. Yeah. Forgot about that one. That one's an important one. Normal map. There you go with my laser. Normal map. So let's go through them. Again, fairly easy to do here. I'm going to go Arnold. I'm going to lights. I'm going to create a light. And I'm going to create just a basic sky dome light. If I do this and I render, let's say real quick. I'm going to change this to GPU. Remember that my computer might lag a little bit when I render, so bear with me. And let's take a render here. ID map, yes, but since we're not gonna do it in Unreal, it might laser, and I don't think Marmoset has an ID like a generator there. That 1 3D artist, what's up, man? So this is what we have. Let's of course jump to our front view. So we're gonna go front view, Arnold, and render. So that it registers the front view. Come on. Why is this not working? Is it because I locked it? Front view, Arnold, render. There we go. Okay. Now, as you can see, the hairs are going in the wrong direction. That's, again, a relatively normal thing. I'm just gonna save real quick. I'm gonna go to the thing right here and just, like, click the eye a couple of times. And there we go. So now, as you can see, the hairs are going in the right direction. They're going down. Right now, they look horrible. And the reason why they look horrible is because we have this huge globe of light that's just, like, irradiating, like, everywhere. So it's like a very flat image, right? Now, this plane right here, we can actually hide it. We don't need it. And if we render now, we're only going to have the hairs right there. You can check here on the... Oh, sorry. We're going to go to the dome here. And on the visibility camera, we're going to set this to 0. And now, if we render, this is the alpha channel for our hair. See that? That's what we're doing. That's what we're getting here. We're getting this very nice, like again, very nice alpha channel for the whole thing. So the first map that I like to extract is the color map. And to do that, one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the hair collection, to the hair description, and I'm going to right click and assign a new material. And the material that I'm going to assign new material, it's going to be an Arnold AI hair, AI standard hair. Now, it's going to be a black hair, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the melanin down so that it's pretty much like white. And then I'm going to change the melanin randomize as well and bring the melanin redness down. So what that will give me when I render this is it will give me this sort of like grayish hair, and each strand is going to have a little bit of a variation. Now, unfortunately, the light that we're having right now is a very, very ugly light. So we're not being able to extract the color because the light is like super intense. So for this particular cases, I recommend using a Studio HDRI. Some people might argue, no, you want to have like completely matte, like, what's the word, color for your hair. And again, that's just personal preference. I like to have a little bit of color variation on my hair. So I'm going to go here to, of course, Polyhaven. And if we go to studio, I'm going to look for a soft studio like this brown photo studio that I love, love, love using. There you go. It says right here, yeah, for the character course, for most of the 15 minute views, I'm spending probably about an hour or more on it. Yeah, and that's usually how it goes. How on earth are you able to afford Maya per month? Dude, Casey, I'm sorry that I'm going to have to call you out on this one, but Maya has the indie variation. So Maya Indie is really, really affordable. This is the one that I use. Like, I literally paid my license last month. And for instance, here in Mexico, the price for the Mexico license is, where is it? I think it was like 300 pesos, 3,000 pesos. So it's like 3 video games that you're going to be paying for your license. So if you want to use Maya, look for the Maya Indie license. If you're going to be working in the studio, they're going to give you the license, so you don't have to worry about it. But if you want to pay for it, yeah, $300. It's not per month, it's per year. So you just split that in a year and it works, man. I mean, at least over here, I don't find it expensive, because with the kind of work that you can make with Maya, you can charge a lot more than that, and you recovered your license cost very, very easily. So yeah, okay, so for this one right here, again, I'm just gonna go to the, yeah, it's really affordable, man. It's really, really affordable for the indie license. Let's go downloads, and we're gonna grab our, there we go, brown photo studio. So now that we have the brown photo studio, if we render, thanks to the fact that there's going to be color on the HDRI, the hair should look a little bit nicer. There you go, look at that. So now we get a little bit of that brown color hitting the different parts of our hair. Now, hair is one of those things that you definitely need to increase the samples for, because as you can see, it's very noisy, okay? So what I'm going to do over here, first of all, I think I'm going to add a little bit more melanin to this one. So let's go to the material here. I'm gonna add a little bit more melanin. So it's gonna be like this beige color. There you go. That looks nice. Right? Like that looks really, really cool. And as you can see, we get some nice depth over the whole thing. Now, I'm gonna go to the samples over here to our renderer. I'm gonna go to adaptive sampling. I'm gonna set this to 8. I think 8 should be more than enough. And hopefully it won't take us long. So if we render, and now the samples do their job and they clean everything up, this is what we're gonna get, right? So a lot cleaner, a lot better. This is our, again, our hair strands or our hair card that we're gonna be generating. Now here, what I'm gonna do is I am gonna add a DNoer Optics imager, which should not change the alpha too much. It will just change the color and give me a more like cleaner color, as you can see right there. And again, the alpha, if we check it out, should be exactly the same. So this is our first map, guys. This is our first hair card. It's gonna be our, let's call it the thick, like main hair card, which is gonna have most of the strands, some nice flyaways here on the sides, creating some variation and some like a blend, which is always nice as well. And we just saved this. So I'm gonna save this image. Let's go right here. Come on, Maya. There you go. So let's go to the desktop for now. Let's create a new folder. Let's call this Hair Arts. There we go. So over here, we're gonna call this color or diffuse or albedo or however you wanna call it. And very importantly, I'm gonna save this as a target file. Why do you guys think we're gonna save this as a target file? It's not a tricky question, but it's an important question. Why are we saving it as a target file? TikTok. That's right, alpha. We're gonna be using the what's the word? The alpha channel. We need the transparency, the alpha channel, baked into an actual channel. And this is one of the reasons why I prefer to use targets than PNGs, because PNGs bake the information into the pixel somehow. I'm not too like familiar with the process, but they bake the information. So here, if we go, oh, not now. We go over here to the channel, we can select the alpha channel and mask things out, right? And that's the actual thing that we're going to be seeing. Like that's our hair card. As you can see, all of those like ugly lines and everything, it's gone because we just get the hair card. So the alpha channel is going to be contained in this diffuse channel right there. Now, next map, normal map. Super easy. You're just going to go to the hair description as well. Right click on the object and you're going to assign a new material, Arnold, and it's called AI Utility, okay? AI Utility. We're gonna be using this one quite a bit. So for AI Utility, what we need to do, this is very interesting, we actually need to add a plane, okay? So we're gonna add a plane, just like a straight plane right here on the back of the element. It doesn't have to be like that, it can be like further back, but it needs to be right there. And we're gonna assign the same AI Utility to that plane right there. Why? Because when we do the render, and we use that AI utility, we can change the type of utility that we want to do right here to right here to normal, for instance, or geometric normal or unbumped normal. Okay, so we have all of these things that we can do and generate different maps from our element. So if we go to the normal map information, which you can see just like a normal information right there, and we render, this is what we get. Look at that. That's it. You don't need anything else. That's your normal map right there. Like this is a great normal map that you can use, and it's gonna give you the little bumps and the little things that are gonna change the curvature of your hair. Okay, now why do we need the plane on the background? We need the plane so that we get a like balanced normal map on the back here of the element. So again, file, save image, and this is gonna be one of our normal maps right here. This is gonna be normal. Shadstain says, hi, Abe, this tutorial couldn't have come at a better time, but I'm unable to watch this until the end. Will it be available? Yes, it's gonna be. Every single live stream has been available. I think so. Maybe we had one surprise live stream that was not available, but every other live stream has been available. So yeah, this is your normal map information. I'm gonna show you how all of this looks in render as soon as we finish the bakes. Don't worry about that, but I just want to make sure that we all understand what's going on here. So cool, that's our normal map. Let's save this image. And that's going to be our normal map right there. Perfect. Next map, the direction map. Someone was asking about it. It's right here as well. It's called a D. Where is it? Oh, I don't see it. Not sure if it's the U surface derivative. I think it's the V coordinates. No, it's not the V coordinates. Which one was it? Now I forgot about this one. Edge length? No, it's not edge length. Well, someone was asking about the ID map. This is the one. It's object ID. So if you render, you're gonna get this. But there's an option where you can select that each element. It's actually not object ID. It's primitive ID. There you go. Primitive ID. So if you do primitive ID, you're gonna get this, which is the ID for each individual strand of hair, and you can use this information, this map, to add a little bit of variation inside of Unreal as well. So this one's another like very useful one. I'm not finding the direction map right now. I'm gonna have to check my notes. So let's move on to the next one. The next one is the ambient occlusion, and to do that, we also need to add another ambient occlusion right here. And I'm also gonna add the same ambient occlusion to the back plane right there, and that's it. We just render. And Arnold has all of the information. Look at that. This one is super important. You guys are gonna see why in just a second. This one is super important because it's gonna allow you to give that depth, like that sort of like thing where it looks like it's thick and it's not just like a plane. So this ambient occlusion map, super important. File, save image. We're gonna go desktop, and this is gonna be the ambient occlusion. There we go. There was another map. Can you change that shader preview to the one we get in the hypershade? I'm not sure. I've never changed it, to be honest. So we got this one, we got this one, we got this one, we got this one. Again, roughness, we can just like build a very basic roughness map in Photoshop. There's no really that much of it. The direction map is the one that I'm missing. Let me check the Arnold documentation real quick. So Arnold direction shader. Is it this one? No, I'm not seeing it. Well, in this particular case, it's not really gonna be that much of an issue because the hair that we have is going very straight. But if you have like, and I'm gonna show you how the map looks, and I'll probably do a video next week to show you how to generate that one. But the way direction maps work is when you shine a light through an object that's curved, instead of the light going straight like this, it follows the direction of the hair. So it just looks a little bit nicer. But again, it's one of those like, unless you have like a really twisted like a mustache or something like that, you don't really need something like that. Okay, so now let's put to the test this guys right here. I'm gonna export this plane. Export selection. Let's call this test plane. Binilms, thanks for the follow, man. And thanks for the follow to that one 3D artist as well. Okay, so we're here inside of Marmoset, and as you guys know, Marmoset is a shading or rendering engine. It also bakes and it also textures. It's a really powerful like tool. I bought my license like, I don't know, like 3 years ago, and I use it all the time. And we're gonna use this to test out our hair cards. So this right here is a simple plane that's gonna like represent our hair card, right? And what we're gonna do here is we're just gonna start plugging in all of the elements into our object. So let's start with the albedo map. So the albedo map goes here, and this is what we see. But it looks super ugly, right? It looks very bad, and that's because we're not using transparency. So we need to go down here to where it says transparency, and we're gonna use dither transparency. And by default, it's already using this option called use albedo alpha map. And look at that. Like, if this is just a clump of hair, like, that looks nice. That looks like a really cool clump of hair. So you can imagine how when you have multiple of these things right here, it's gonna look very nice on your character, which again, it's what we're gonna be doing in just a couple of minutes. But before that, we can of course add more maps to make this thing look even better. So if we go to the normal map, this is the first map that's gonna make things look a little bit better. This is what we get. It might not seem like much, but it does change the way it shades. Look at that. Can you see the difference? So now we see some hairs like pushing out and pushing in. So instead of having this super flat surface, the normal map is actually getting us a little bit of relief on the strands of hairs. Now I don't have a roughness map, so I'm just gonna push the roughness up so that the hair is not super glossy. And again, you can see, you should be able to tell how it changes the shading information of your object so that again, it does not look like this. Vinyl, I've bought 2 courses of yours and it's amazing. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Yeah, the courses are available on my site. Right now we got 6 courses. 6 courses. There we go. So now the next one that we're going to use here, and this is again one of the most important one, is the ambient occlusion. But the very common mistake that people make with ambient occlusion is that they just plug in the ambient occlusion into the ambient occlusion map. And if you do that, yes, it's going to look interesting, but it's actually not going to look like what we want. So if you drop this here on the ambient occlusion, it's going to give you some weird shadows. See that? So not great, not looking great. So what we need to do here is we need to use this advanced ambient occlusion. And what we're going to use here is not the ambient occlusion, but the cavity map right here. Cavity map, okay? So this one's free. And what we do is we plug in the ambient occlusion in the cavity map. And that one really, really freaking makes the hair work. Look at that. This is, again, one of the most important maps. That's why the ambient occlusion is so important, because it really gives depth to the whole thing. And again, it's quite different. Let me plug this into the ambient occlusion. It's quite different than the ambient occlusion. The ambient occlusion does nothing. Like if I turn on the ambient occlusion, it just adds like a very ugly dark layer everywhere. That's not what we want. We want this, where it really makes it seem like this thing is like pushing in. And you can play with the diffuse cavity and with the specular cavity, which is how long or how deep we let the specular and the cavity go into the object. And you can see how we get that very, very nice depth along all of the parts of our element. Does that make sense, guys? Any questions so far? Like with this, we're pretty much finishing with the creation of Haircards process. And as I mentioned before, like if you are like, fuck this, I'm out, I don't want to do this, like this is too much, then Fibershop might be a good option for you. If you want to pay $150 for this, or Fibershop, if you want to sponsor us and give us free license here for our students, we're happy to help. But yeah, in this one, this software right here, what it does is exactly all of the things that I just showed you how to do. You create the haircards like this, or like this, and then you bake all of the elements. You bake your specular, your albedo, your ambient, your direction flow, your alpha opacity, your root tip, all of these elements right here, okay? So that is the, like that would be the advantage, I would say, of Fibershop. You avoid all of this process right here. Like, I'm being serious. If, or this is my personal opinion, if I get a new project in the next couple of months where I'm going to be doing a lot of haircards, I would probably get Fibershop, just because I know that I'm going to be able to create the fibers very, very quickly. But if it's just every now and then, like what I'm doing with this goblin right here, it's fine. It doesn't really matter, okay? You lose a little bit of the colors with the cavity, yes, because the cavity is adding a little bit of shadow, but you can control that right here, right? You could also later on, for instance, if I go here to the albedo, I can add a little bit of a tint. So if I need to bring more color into the element, right, dark color, red color, or whatever, I can add a tint. And that's another like great way to add here. But look at how nice this looks. And this is a plane. Like, this is the amazing thing about, what's the word? About freaking haircards. That this is just literally a plane, right? Like, the geometry is just this, this plane right here, which is like a single 10-sided plane. And we get a lot of detail. It looks like there's a lot of depth right here. And we're not even using ray tracing. If I go here and I turn on ray tracing, it's going to look a little bit softer, especially on the silhouette of the element, just a little bit softer. Now, when you have multiple of this, right? So if I duplicate this, this is how you start making something that looks a little bit nicer, because you start getting more and more of this, guys, right? And your hair starts looking denser and denser and denser. So very, very useful technique, haircuts, my friends. Very useful techniques. Now, let me get you, because I told you that this was going to be like a cooking show where I show you things that are already made, and then I'm going to show you how to prepare your own haircuts. Let me go and get this. Give me 1 second. There we go. Haircards. Okay, so let me show you here. Oh, where's Photoshop? There we go. So this, what I'm about to show you, is a full hair card like sheet. There we go. So as you can see, we have this hairs right here, this hairs right here, this one's right here, some flyaways. These are for some eyebrows, for instance. These are just some long hairs. And this all followed the exact same process. This again was supposed to be like a white sort of like color effect for the whole thing. And this is what we have. That's the alpha. Or sorry, that's the diffuse alpha. This is the normal map, as you can see right there. This is the object ID, for instance, if we're using object ID, so the difference between each strand of hair. And this is the direction, the one that I was not able to show you how to do. But you can see that there's not a lot of variation. This direction map, we are going to be using it. This direction map here inside of Marmoset goes into the reflection options, anisotropic, and it's this one, direction map right here. And it will change things. Actually, let's just plug it in right here. So let's just plug the full sheet right here. So this is diffuse alpha. There we go. This is the normal map. This is the cavity map, or the AO. And this is the direction map. There we go. So this, again, is a full set of hair cards. And I could have made this even more complex, right? Like, this is just, what, 7? 9? It's not 9? It's 9. It's 9 different like hair situations, different hair cards that you can use for your character. But you can make 20, 50 different sets, different elements, and you're going to get a very, very nice result. So, yeah, this is, again, the very basic construction of a hair card sheet for your characters. Any questions so far? Any questions? Okay. So, if we don't have any questions, let's move on to the next part. Let me just close Photoshop here. Okay. So the next part is the actual creation of our hair cards, because this is just the hair cards sheet. Now we need to create the hair cards. And to do that, I'm going to go to my character. So I'm going to go to the Goblin render. Save that one real quick. And this is that guy right here. So let's imagine that we went through the whole process that we just went through, and I created a bunch of different variations for our hair cards. Now that we have that, we can start creating the hair cards that we're actually going to be using here for our character. And at the same time, this is very important, I am going to be doing this, or I'm going to be setting this up here inside of Marmoset. Because one very important thing about haircuts is that you need to be constantly checking how the haircuts are looking in the render to make sure that they look good. Now, this one already has the maps connected, so I'm just going to call this material haircard. And what I want to do here is I want to bring my goblin to this Marmoset scene. So I'm just going to grab the goblin, file, export selection. Let's call this goblin. This is a heavy one. As you can see, it's like 1 million polygons. And that's one of the things that I like about Marmoset, that it can definitely handle like a lot of polygons. So it shouldn't be that much of a problem. What are your thoughts on using ZBrush Fiber Mesh to Substance 3D Designer for haircut generation? I've never used that workflow, Ninja, so I'm not sure how good or bad it is, to be honest. But if it works for you, I mean, as with anything 3D related, there's always multiple ways to get to the same result. Evil Eyes, don't worry, let me, yeah, same workflow, Eduardo, and Evil Eyes, let me explain how that works. So, here. This is an excellent guide, by the way, guys. If you want to, like, all of the things that we're talking about, there we go. So this is it. This is what happens when you have a direction map and when you don't have a direction map. But again, it only really works if you have a really curved surface. If it's really, like, straight, like this section right here, you're not going to see that much of a difference. But for something like this, where you want light to go around and wrap around the whole thing, this is an excellent way to do it. Okay? So yeah, that's the direction map. It changes the way light will slide, if you wish, through the object or through the elements of your object. So that's it. Direction map and no direction map. Okay. So let's go here to Marmoset and let's import our goblin guy. Let me open a new. Yeah, you can use this hair thing for like a rug, like the little tassels of a rug, for cloth, for a bunch of different things. Like whenever you need like fibers, this method works. And we got the gobbly. Now the cool thing about exporting the gobbly from Maya with all of the 3 materials is that we are gonna get the 3 materials over here. So this is standard phase 1, which is the color. One cool thing that we have right here is we can actually set this to subsurface scattering, and then the color can be, I like sort of like yellowish goblin color. And you can see the subsurface scattering working there. It's gonna look a little bit better once we turn on ray tracing, but for now that looks fine. Definitely too rough, so let's increase the roughness there a little bit. It's a little bit too saturated. There we go. This one is the eyes, which are fine, and this ones I think are the teeth. Normally, this is a question I got last week, I think, on the Discord. Normally, I do hair cards after texturing. So I would normally texture the character and then do the hair cards so that I can like better appreciate how things look. And in this case, I do recommend going for an HDRI that's like a studio, so that you can see things in a sort of like flatter way, because otherwise there's too much contrast going on. Berg, what's up, man? Eren Gosotuk says, "Hi, Abe. I learned so much from you and your courses. Thank you very much for your content." You're welcome, man. Yeah, we're near 20k, Hudson. I think we're like, what, like 2k away or 3k away? So if you guys want to help us out, make sure to subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube and you're not subscribed, we could really appreciate 1 sub right there. Okay, so over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a plane. Rotate this 90 degrees. And set the height to just 1 for now. And in here, let's turn off the grid. We don't need it right now. I'm going to add a new material. It's going to be a Maya material, just traditional Maya material. Lambert is fine because I just want to see the color and the transparency. And on this Lambert, I'm going to connect a file. And of course, it's not going to be the hair that we just did. It's going to be the hair from Merc. Which is this one right here. There we go. If I press number 6, this is it. So this, as you can see right here, are my hair cards, right? Like this is my hair sheet that we're going to be using to dress up this character right here. So we need to start creating our hair cards. And the way you can do this is just by using insert edge loop or your knife brush. So I'm going to insert an edge loop right there. And another one right here. And another one right here. And another one right here. And then this face right here that we just sort of like encapsulated, I'm going to say edit mesh and extract. So now this is a different object. Send to the pivot point. And there we go. I'm going to duplicate to always keep it original. Well, first I'm going to move the pivot point to the base right there, because it's easier to move it right there. And I do want to make some modifications to this guy so that it's not completely flat, because one of the issues with hair cards is that if you keep them completely flat, they look very weird. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go and insert an edge loop. I'm going to insert multiple edge loops. I'm going to insert 2 edge loops right here, and I'm going to insert 4 edge loops on this side. So this looks more like a hair card. Okay, now this one, I'm still gonna like do a couple of changes. I'm gonna grab this inner faces. I'm just gonna give them a little bit of curvature up right there. And then I'm gonna grab this faces right here. And I'm also gonna give them a little bit of curvature right here. Okay, like that. So now this is no longer a plane. This is a little bit more of a sort of like a cylindrical surface, right? And you can make this as intense or not as you want. And that's it. We duplicate this thing. And this is now the the boring part or the tricky part. We need to actually punch in all of these hairs into the surface of the character. Like this. Actually, let me show you one more trick here. This is something that I learned a while ago. You can add one more line right there. And then this line, you just push it in to create this sort of like hook, so that it actually goes into the object. can snap them right there. These are too big, so I'm gonna make it smaller. And now it's a matter of starting with the blocking of the hair right here. Now at this point, this is where you can also go into your vertex and use things like soft selection to push and pull things in and out so that the little roots of the hair look like they're touching the face, like this. And then you duplicate again. You move it a little bit to the next side. Position it where we want. Go back to vertex. And then literally, it's kind of like combing or preparing the hair of the character. And what you want is you want to avoid all of this sort of like floating bits. So you want to make sure that the texture touches the skin. That's why we created that little taper on the skin of the element. For instance, all of this like element right there, we can move it around, twist it a little bit. Just like manage this as well as you can. See that? Now that thing that's happening right there, did you see that? You guys notice that? That's called C-fighting or C-depth fighting, which is when you have two transparent objects that are really close to each other, they're gonna fight to be on top of each other to see which one it is that what's the word? To see or to get an idea of which one's gonna be there. In Maya, you can change that by going to renderer and then viewport 2.0. And there's an option here. Instead of object sorting, we're going to be using depth peeling and hit select. And that's it. So now, as you can see, with depth peeling, we don't get that like C-fighting anymore. Like it knows that this one is on top, and that's pretty much it. Let's see. Yeah, there's a bunch of different ways that you can place. I've seen people use XGen to place them. I've seen them use scripts to place them. But I'm following one. This is an advice that I got, or I read once from, I think it was Chris Costa. I'm not sure if it was Chris Costa or someone like that, who mentioned that the best way to do it is just like literally punching in the the cards. So just like take some time, get your favorite music going, and position the cards where you need to. Now, as you can see here, it's very, very important to analyze all the time how the hair cards are looking, because what you want to avoid is having like weird, like empty spaces like this one right here. So yes, it does take some time. And usually what I like to do is I like to start with a very basic sort of like creation of these cards, like the big ones, like this is that's quite dense, right? So this is going to be my base, and I do a first pass on the placement. And then I start bringing in the other ones, which is this ones right here, which are a little bit looser to cover up all of these areas right here. So all of these areas that look a little bit weird, like very, very straight, we're going to be using some of these ones right here to fill that in.
For 1,000 people, and you can't be honest with one.
Let's see. I can see this taking days and or weeks to groom. Yeah, probably a day. I would say a day is a good amount of time. Like a couple of hours for sure. And the more complex the groom, the more like complicated this becomes, right? I've seen some freaking impressive grooms. Like there was one guy did like a fan art of Margaret Tyrell from Game of Thrones, and he did like all of the braids and things like that with haircuts. And I was like, dude, like that's some patience right there. And grooming and doing all of this thing is one of those, I would say, parts of the pipeline, of the 3D pipeline, that you do need to have certain sort of like calling for. So if you're a very impatient person and you don't like just tweaking and moving things little by little, this might not be for you. Okay. I'll make this smaller. Again, just gotta be careful with this elements where they're kind of like crossing each other. It's not the end of the world if you get a couple of overlaps right there, but you want to avoid them because again, there's gonna be a little bit of C-fighting and that can generate some effects. Yes, that's totally right, iCast. Like once you have the base layer, once you have this like initial stage done, it's a little bit easier to add like the breakups and stuff. Now, for instance, on this area right here, because if we see this from the back, we're gonna see this empty area. So this is where it's very important to always like rotate your camera around and cover it. You don't need to add hair in all of this section right here. You can to add a little bit more variation, right? But sometimes, as long as it looks like a block and it's just like, again, blocking the main areas of your element, you're gonna be fine. Now this here does have a little bit of color on the roots and the tips. So we gotta be careful. It's kind of like creating like a curtain, right, of hairs right now. Do AAA games use hair cards for making hairs? Yes, all the time. All the time. Yeah, like Elden Ring, hair cards all the way. Even Legend of Zelda, I think I saw hair cards. Berg, I think in the newest Unreal Engine 4.3, no, what is it, 4.3, no, 5.3 or 5.4, they've now included, again, tessellation, so you might need to update or upgrade there. Sif from God of War was hair cards. Yeah, there's a lot of things. Can you groom it on one side and then just... Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do, man. Like, I'm just going to do one side right here. So, now let me show you one thing right here. Once you have something that looks interesting, right? Like, you're like, hey, okay, I like this. I wanna test it out. You're going to grab all of your elements right here, and you're going to say File, Export Selection. Ideally, you want to combine them. I'm going to combine them, and then we can decombine or separate again. I'm just going to call this Hair Test, and we're going to bring it into Marmoset. Right here. This is how the hair cards look when there is nothing, right? Like when you have absolutely nothing enabled. And once we add this, this is how it's going to start looking. Right now, it looks horrible. I know it looks very, very bad. Even if I turn ray tracing on, it looks very, very, very bad. Like the shadows and the character looks way better, but the hair still looks quite weird. But this is why it's very, very important to bring this into Marmoset so that you can see where things look bad. Because if it looks bad here, then it's gonna look bad on your engine. So I can definitely see that right now this is way too uniform. So I need to start adding my variation. And to add the variation, of course, we need a new hair card. So this one right here. We're gonna add another one right there, another one right there, another one right there. We grab this guy, mesh, extract. We're gonna bring this to the side. Get that one in there. Insert edge loops right there. 1 and 1 right there. You can also use soft selection, for instance, to give this a little bit of curvature. And finally, the little hook that I mentioned about, right? There we go. So with this one right here, we're going to create the overlaps. So we're going to bring this one into this sections right here. And we're going to start using this to blend the different layers. Okay, does that make sense? And it's gonna break up again. We're gonna look for those sort of like empty areas or areas where things look a little bit weird. This is gonna start breaking up that beard and generating something that looks a little bit more interesting. Baldur's Gate, for instance. You guys were asking about AAA games. Baldur's Gate uses hair cards. I was playing a little bit of Diablo 4 yesterday. Hair cards. Because they're very efficient. That's one of the cool things about hair cards. This is where you can really get in the zone and just you start plugging in more and more haircuts. See, that starts looking a little bit, but right now it looks very uniform again because we have just like straight lines going to one side and the other. But does it make sense, all of the things that we're doing? Is it possible to import XGen fur into Marmoset? I think it is, Leal. I think you can do it if you... Sorry, give me 1 second because my headphones just got disconnected. I think if you export as Alembic, I think you can do it, but it's going to be very, very heavy. It's going to be a heavy element right there. Your sub count is now more than fast track tutorials. Really? I don't know. I don't think I've seen a lot of fast track tutorials, to be honest. But that's cool. I mean, I'm really impressed, my friends, and this is all thanks to you. We started this project last year in June. We're actually going to be doing something special for the anniversary once we get there. But it's just been 1 year, and we're already at almost 20k subscribers. That's just freaking amazing. There you go. So as you can see, I'm using this small ones. And I'm gonna just like float them a little bit there to break up the appearance, because I don't want this thing to be super flat, especially when seen like from this side. You can see how the what's the word, the silhouette of the character looks very, very even. You can grab some of this, for instance. We can like twist them around and just like push them out right there. They're kind of like coming from underneath the hair. And that's gonna add some like nice variation, which is similar but not the same to what we do when we're doing fur for animals. Because in fur for animals, the fur does follow a direction, like the direction of the actual animals, like hair. There you go. That's looking a little bit better. So let's do another test. I'm just gonna again combine everything. I'm gonna mirror this. Let's see it on both sides. So mirror world positive X. And mirror. There we go. Kind of look like sideburns. File. Export selection. Hair test. And the cool thing is, once you export your hair test the first time, it's just gonna update. So it's gonna be very easy. Yeah, see? That starts looking a little bit better. It's breaking things down a little bit more. And again, once we turn on ray tracing, especially with the shadows of the character and everything else, we're gonna get something that looks really, really interesting. One more thing we can do here is we can select this object and we can give them a subdivision that's going to smooth out some of the elements, so it's not going to look as straight. See that? It's a very small change, but it can really help. And yes, it's going to increase the poly count, but as you can see, even right now with all of this like transparency and everything, we're only using 0.15 megabytes of RAM or VRAM, so it's not that bad. Breakstar, yeah, there we go, man. Finally, this one. Am I going to be hiring teachers to have more courses to offer? Yes, that's the plan. That's the plan. We definitely want to, because I've mentioned this before, like I don't know everything, of course, and I would love to have more people who are as experienced as I am in the areas that I am, but in a different area, so they can offer more information as well. However, it's a complicated process because there's a lot of people that are really, really good, and hopefully I don't sound bad by saying this, but you also need to be good at teaching. And you guys have confirmed to me that you like the way I teach. So we need to find people who are good at teaching and good at what they do as artists. So that's a tricky combination. Okay, there we go. Now, reference. We need to find reference. So what's the name of this type of hairstyle? Sideburn, right? It's like this. Kind of like this. So I'm trying to see how far forward these things go. And as you can see, they don't go... Yeah, this is pretty much what we're looking for. Wow. Okay, so I think we're going way too far forward. So this guy's right here. We're gonna move them a little bit to the side. If you start seeing like this weird shadows, then that means that there's some, again, weird overlapping things. And there we go. The way I talk? What do you mean? Do you like the... I've been told that people like the way I explain things, that I try to always like simplify things in the best possible way for them to make sense. and I do think that that's one of my strong points. Do you have a number of edge loops you like to stick into general per card? No, not really, but about around this. You can see this one has 36 like poly count. So again, I just try to add 1 or 2 down the middle so that we get a little bit of a curvature, and then a couple on the side so that we can like twist them around and like again modify them. Now the sideburn goes quite high, so there we go, like that. I want to support the channel by buying your courses, but it's all focused for character creation. Hope you can have other fields too. Yes, we're like some of the things that I'm gonna be doing again soon is the 3D printing one, which is pretty cool. Then we're gonna do environments, we're gonna do creatures, but my like section or my area of expertise is modeling, sculpting, texturing, rendering. That's like my main thing. I can pretty much sculpt, model, texture, and render anything, but that's my main, again, the sort of like effect. Weapons, yeah, weapons is another one that I want to do. Weapons is probably gonna be a live class. I actually have the concept here that I want to do. Here, this one. So I want to do a class of modeling this weapon right here because it's just like super fun and really good. But unfortunately, we cannot do it on YouTube because YouTube does not like gun content. We can definitely do it on our site though, but even promoting this kind of stuff, it's gonna be complicated. Yeah, this one will be like realistic weapon. Like it will be a realistic weapon course. I don't like hyper realism though. I was talking with Evgen yesterday on the Discord, and like I love seeing it. I love seeing hyper realistic like portraits of like famous people and things like that, but doing it's not something that I enjoy. And I've mentioned this before, like you should always try to do things that you enjoy. Like if you can do it, right? Sometimes you're gonna have to do things that you don't like. You're gonna have to get out of your comfort zone, but most of the stuff that I've done has been semi-realistic, cartoonish, stylized. Wonder if it's possible to take hair from ZBrush and then use it in Blender to be taken. It is. There are a couple of ways to do it, man. We were talking about that earlier. It is possible to export fiber mesh information and transform it, but it's not as like you're not gonna get a super smooth result, I would say. Like if you can follow other processes. This is actually a very good advice because I remember when fiber mesh came out, I was there, guys. I was there when fiber mesh came out. I was there when DynaMesh came out. Like I started using ZBrush way before DynaMesh existed. And when fiber mesh came out, one of our teachers said, "Hey, if you're gonna learn fiber mesh, you might as well dedicate that time to learn a proper hair like engine, because fiber mesh is great to just preview things inside of ZBrush. But for production, you're gonna be using Haircards, you're gonna be using Etchen, you're gonna be using Ornatrix. Back in the day, there was another one called Shaving a Haircut. So it was that was the advice that we were given. It's like if you were gonna invest time in learning hair, might as well invest it in learning like proper hair, if that makes sense." Could you please do a quick tutorial on how to bake ambient occlusion to vertex colors of all hair cards? Yeah, we just did, man. Like I just mentioned that you just do the cavity mask, or you just do an ambient occlusion, and then you, what's the word? You plug it into the cavity map, the cavity mask. Like if you missed it, it's gonna be tomorrow on the rerun, but we just did it. Yeah, right, Cornrace? Shaving a haircut. That was an old hair system. Brad Gaming says, "This is sick. You're talented. Want to check out one of my projects to see? You can submit your stuff for portfolio review." Which, by the way, guys, portfolio review is gonna be moved one more week, so it's not gonna be next week on Friday the 24th. It's gonna be on Friday the 31st. Okay, so you still got 2 weeks to submit for portfolio review. Like, this is the thing I'm mentioning. Like, this empty spaces. This is why we add the curvature to the hair, so that we can push this in a little bit, and it's not as obvious, because those concave areas are the ones that are gonna like give us some issues. Let's grab the last hair one, or the last. I really like this one. This ones were meant for eyebrows, but we can actually use them for some breakups as well. So I'm gonna use one right here, one right here. Right here, and this one mesh. Where is it? Yeah, edit mesh extract. There we go. I'm gonna rotate this because we're gonna be using it as a breakup. So it's gonna help us like break up this kind of like horrible line that we have there with the hairs. I'm gonna add 3 lines right there and 3 lines right there. Push this in. That. And like that. How could you make a video about the use of AI tools in game development, or could you talk about how we can utilize? I did like one, Matty, a couple of months ago about Substance Sampler, for instance. It now has a a AI thing that you can use to generate your own textures. I think. And I was reading a report yesterday. Who was this? It was Ibarrechi. So there's this very famous Mexican TikToker presenter. He does content for movies or about film, and he mentioned that he went to a interview with some very famous directors from Hollywood that have worked on like multi-million-dollar like franchises, like the guy who did Mad Max. I think Max, is it Miller something? I don't know. And he asked them about AI and what they thought about it, and they had a very interesting. He mentioned that they had a very interesting sort of like approach to AI, because they mentioned everyone's using AI. All of the big studios are using AI. They just don't want to say it because they know that right now people see AI negatively. But they also said that movies, and I guess that this could be translated to games, should not cost millions of dollars to make. Like, if you can make something for cheaper, that's cool, right? From a production standpoint. Yes, that means that works will be lost and things will be simplified, unfortunately. But it also means that we, as small artists, as small producers, could be making very cool things with a lot less investment than what was needed some time ago. Which is exactly what happened around the 2000s, when things like Unreal Engine and Unity and things like that starting popping out. It was now possible for anyone who had a computer to create their own game, right, and publish it. So there are pros and cons to the whole like AI conversation. I'm not against it, but I am against the bad use of AI, right? Like, if people are using it to steal copyrighted materials and things like that, then yeah, that's fucked up. But for other things, it can be a tool. It can be a very interesting tool. George Miller, there you go. Yeah, George Miller. Thanks, Eduardo. Do you offer paid private reviews? Been working on a short film with college students and would love some professional guidance. Yes, Corn Reese. I do have private like sessions or mentorships. I normally use them to teach, but if you just want like a review, I mean, if it's an easy review, just send me a link on Discord and I'll be happy to help. But if it's gonna take longer, then yeah, we can schedule a meeting. I also can, yeah, anyone who's interested in like mentorships, just send me a Discord private message, and I'll share the information. They're usually 1-hour sessions, and we go over things that you might be interested in learning or things that you're struggling with. but it isn't good though. What, the AI? Yeah, I agree that most of AI is bad. At least in what we do, right? Because for instance, I've been using AI to generate subtitles for the shorts and the videos that we do. And that saves me so much time, so much freaking time. And yeah, the translation is not perfect. It's like 95% like perfect or something, but it works. And for the stuff that I'm doing, it's just perfect. So again, it's all about like finding the right tools and utilizing them properly. I'm sure translators are super angry that they now can be replaced with a machine that can do the translation super easily, right? So that's why it's just complicated. It's unfortunately a complicated topic. There you go. So look at that. Now this sideburn looks way more interesting, right? Like way more interesting. I'm gonna duplicate one of this and I'm gonna add it underneath here. And just overlap it again to kind of like make it pop a little bit more right there. And again, we need to do a test. So let's grab everything right here. Combine. Mirror. And export. There you go. Again, you should always also judge the result, in this case of Haircards, based on the distance that you're going to be seeing the character. So in this case, I think this is roughly the distance that we're going to be seeing it. Like, I don't think we're ever going to have like this sort of close-up, right? Where we're going to be seeing every single fiber. So maybe like a cutscene where we see it like this. And hopefully you guys can imagine how with proper textures and everything, this is going to blend even more. Because right now, just with this green skin, it's a little bit difficult. Ray tracing definitely helps because of the extra shadows. But it's one of those things that it just requires like more and more setup. Yeah, I really like it. It's looking cool. Marco, what's up, man? Welcome. Yeah. Now I even feel proud of myself. I'm always, you guys don't know this, but every time we have a live stream, I'm scared. I'm scared that I'm live. I don't have a time to pause the video and just like figure something out. I need to be thinking on my feet and solving things. So I was a little bit scared about this one when I decided like, yeah, let's do haircuts. I was like, hope it works. I really hope it works. But yeah, I think it's working. What do you guys think? Looking good, right? Series, I totally understand. I'm gonna give you an example. I've mentioned this before. I've been reading a lot lately on my free time, if the little free time that I have, and when I was a kid, I always thought that I was, well, not that I thought. When I was a kid, I read a lot of books as well, and I always wanted to write. I always thought that it would be interesting to be a writer, but I knew that it was going to be a very challenging career choice, so I like discarded it, right? And then I picked art, and then I picked 3D generation or 3D content creation. But the point is that I've been trying to write a little bit more on my own. Just on my cell phone or on my laptop or whatever, and I tried using AI to generate like the story. It freaking sucks. Like it's bullshit. Like even though I'm not a writer, I know I can write something that reads a little bit more interesting than what AI just spews out. So AI is definitely going to be a tool that's going to be very present in our lives going forward, but I don't think it's going to replace a lot of like the traditional stuff that we're doing. There will be, here's the thing, I compare this to like the Nintendo eShop. Have you guys gone there? There's gonna be more shit in there. There's gonna be more horrible games and more horrible things. So AI will increase the amount of like horrible things that are gonna be out there, or bad things. But if you make something that's good, I think that might actually be an upside, because it's gonna like it's really gonna like stand out from within all of that sea of like mediocrity or whatever. I really wish YouTube algorithm favored your stuff more. You explain things better than premium instructors. Well, I mean, if we keep growing, I'm sure it will. But to be honest, guys, I think one of the secrets that that have helped me throughout these years is not focusing on the goal. Like, of course we have a goal, right? Like, we want to keep growing, and if at one point I can like remove myself a little bit more from the studio work and do this full time, that would be freaking amazing. But as long as you enjoy the process, as I've mentioned before, That's the secret. Okay, so there was this very good reference that we have. This one right here. Okay, so what else should we do? Should we add a mustache? What do you guys think? Should we add a mustache? No, yeah, we're following some references, Eduardo. Will this live stream be uploaded as a video? I need a haircuts tutorial, but yeah, it's gonna be tomorrow, man. Yes, mustache, but just like a very simple mustache, right? Like just like a couple of like hairs, I would say. So let's use like this one right here. The music sounds kind of like the Persona music. I need to finish Persona 3. I got it thanks to my brother-in-law, and I haven't had time to play it, unfortunately. Is Marmoset worth the investment, or is Arnold just fine? If you're gonna be doing a lot of game assets, Marmoset is definitely worth it. Like, it's one of the first softwares that I would get. Like, back in the day, I would recommend getting a ZBrush license. Nowadays, I hate what they did there, that they did not honor the perpetual license, and now it's a subscription-based service, but that's capitalism for us. And but yeah, like Marmoset is really good, and it's free. Well, not free. It's one-time payment. Sorry. So you just pay it once, and that's it. So that's pretty cool. Oh, I forgot to I forgot to split the sideburns, but they look quite nice. I'm gonna keep them. Now for the mustache. We definitely need to kind of like twist them around a little bit. This is, someone was asking about the poly count. This is where I would probably add like a couple of extra edges, just so that I can curve things out a little bit more. And it's important because, for instance, this is the same hair card, right? So it's important to change the shape a little bit. So even though it's the same hair card, you get a slightly different like view or result. And these are the empty areas that I'm mentioning about. Like those empty areas, you definitely need to fill those. So either fill them or push some of this guys so that they overlap a little bit more, because otherwise it does look very odd on the engine. Thanks for the follow, Yonsuo. The Hidden says, that's initially why I got myself so invested into Abe's videos. The way he explains everything is literally better than the 80% of tutorials I have been looking for over the past 2 years on YouTube. Since then, I have watched literally every single video, started from next to the new channel. I've been recommending Abe's video to all my friends. Best teacher, honestly. Oh, man, thank you. Oh, you guys are gonna make me blush. Seriously. See, I'm gonna give you a sort of like deep feeling from myself right now, because there's days where I'm feeling tired, or where I'm feeling stressed, or where I'm feeling scared of what's gonna happen, right? Like, I'm a human after all. But every time I record, or every time I'm here with you guys with the streams, and realize that I got the opportunity to do this, I'm just so grateful, because it's thanks to you guys. If there was no audience, if you guys were not here, then this would not be worth it, right? But since you guys are here, and since you guys support the channel, and you guys like the content, and hopefully the content that I'm providing is useful as well for you, then that makes us so worth it. I've had students throughout the years who'd say, hey, I didn't know what I was going to do with my life, and I was going to study something that I didn't love, and then I found your stuff, and I'm now a 3D artist, and I have a job in this studio. We've gotten several artists that gotten jobs thanks to like the portfolio reviews and things like that. And to me, that's just invaluable. It's freaking amazing. And this is one of the things about like technology, right? Like we were talking about AI. It's like without technology, you guys and we wouldn't be here. Do we do full mustache or just like like a side mustache like this? Sidaka, thanks for the follow. Terrifying Beast as well. Thanks for the follow. You can put your Goblin Geo in a layer and set it as reference to the Judah selected. Yeah. I'm aware of that. Let's do that. What he means is just go over here and set this as reference, and that way we're not gonna select it, which is, yeah, a good way to filter things out. Space Case 3D is also following us now. Thank you, guys. I think full mustache? Well, I don't know. And I also love your content. Thanks, man. Thank you. Thank you. And this is something that I tell you guys frequently. Like, you never know what's gonna happen. Like, life, like the Forrest Gump film, right? Like, life is like a box of chocolates. Like, I didn't imagine when I was studying 3D that I was gonna be doing this. And I love it. So just keep pushing, keep learning, keep improving, and you're gonna find yourself working on like really, really cool things. Okay, I really like how this is looking. Just add some smaller ones over here. And then we're gonna do another test. I've been talking about like the writing thing. I've been writing a little bit about the story of the superhero that we're gonna be doing for the premium course, and I'm not sure how to share it. I originally thought about like sharing a little bit of the text before every video on the course, but I felt like that was a little bit too on the face. I'm thinking about like sharing it on Discord or on Instagram. I'm not sure. But I've thought about like the full backstory and a little bit of the world building for the superhero, because I'm not gonna do like a Marvel superhero or like a DC superhero. We don't have the license to do that. But I feel like the story is looking cool. I like the character. I'm not sure if I could do a comic book about it. I have friends who do comic books, so maybe we could collaborate or something. That would be fun. Actually, Eduardo, I was gonna talk to you because later on, after I finish the statue, I want to do like a comic cover illustration. Because I was thinking maybe I might sell like a couple of like kits and have like the illustration, the 3D print, the story. I don't know, like a sticker or something. So I'm gonna need Eduardo there to help me out. Okay, that looks interesting. Let's see how this looks on the edging. So all of this we combine and we mirror. We're definitely missing we're definitely missing a little bit of that. Matthews Braga says, "Hi Ave, I can't decide what career path to follow, games or collectibles. My main focus were games, but I don't know. What are your opinions in this? Have some tips?" Well, that's a great question. So it depends a lot, of course, on the skills, and I would say it depends also on where you're located. Okay, so I would look at what kind of market you have around you, because if there's game studios, then it might be easier to get into a game studio. If there's collectible like